episode titled The Endless Staircase. Heavy rain is falling outside. Peppa is playing inside the house. She is looking for her favorite red ball. The ball has rolled behind the door. Peppa goes down into the dark basement. It is very quiet in the basement. Old wooden boxes stand there. Thick grey spider webs hang there. Peppa looks into the very furthest corner. She sees a very strange thing. There is an old wooden door in the brick wall. This door has never been here before. The door is slightly open. An icy wind blows from behind it. Peppa slowly opens the door. There is no room behind the door. A very old stone staircase begins behind the door. The steps go deep down. There is no daylight down there, only absolute terrifying darkness. Peppa is very curious. She wants to find her red ball. She takes one careful step down. The stone floor is very cold. She takes a second step. The wooden door behind her back suddenly slams shut. A loud bang echoes downwards. Peppa is left in complete darkness. Peppa walks slowly down the steps. Down, down, down. She has been walking for a whole hour, but the staircase does not end. The walls around her are absolutely smooth. The air becomes damp and very heavy. Drip, drop. Water is dripping somewhere far away. This sound makes the silence even more terrifying. Peppa is very tired. She wants to return home to her mummy. She turns around and looks up, but the saving door is no longer there. There are only the exact same endless stone steps above her. They disappear into a black emptiness. Peppa looks down. There is only emptiness down there too. The staircase has no beginning. The staircase has no end. Peppa is locked in forever. Suddenly, a new sound comes from below. Rustle, rustle. Something very heavy is climbing up the stairs towards her. The sound gets louder. Rustle, rustle. Two long white arms slowly appear from the thick darkness. They have much too many long fingers. The white hands grab onto the stone steps. It is crawling upwards. It is crawling right towards Peppa. Peppa cannot breathe. She cannot scream. She simply closes her eyes and waits. She is incredibly deeply terrified. The cold white fingers are almost touching her red dress. At that exact moment, Evie appears on the step right next to her. The younger sister stands completely silently. She looks down with her calm, dark eyes. An ordinary red flashlight is held tightly in her little hand. "It is time for us to go up," says Evie very quietly. Evie simply presses a small button on the flashlight. A bright yellow light instantly cuts through the absolute darkness. The light falls directly on the long white arms. The terrifying creature lets out a hollow scream. It crumbles into grey dust and disappears. The endless stone walls begin to tremble and melt. Peppa opens her eyes. She is standing in her small, cozy basement again. A box with old things stands nearby. There is no longer any wooden door on the brick wall. There is only a solid wall. Her red ball is lying right under her feet. Evie silently picks up the ball. She takes Peppa by the hand. The sisters calmly walk up the normal wooden stairs to the bright kitchen. The basement is left behind. The world has become ordinary and absolutely safe once again. Good night, Peppa. Episode titled Creepy Copies. It was a normal morning at the Pig family house. Mummy Pig was cooking breakfast, Daddy Pig was reading the newspaper, and Peppa was playing in her room. Suddenly, she noticed something strange in the kitchen. She walked over to the door, peered inside, and froze. There, standing at the table, was a copy of herself. "Peppa!" Mummy Pig called out, but Peppa didn't respond as her copy smiled and took a step aside, mimicking her every move. "Mom!" Peppa shouted, but when she turned around, the copy had disappeared. Peppa thought it must have been her imagination. She returned to her room and resumed playing. However, the next morning, when Peppa entered the kitchen, the situation repeated itself. This time, the copy was dressed differently, and there was something off about her. Her smile was wider and her eyes brighter. She stood at the table, staring at Peppa. Peppa froze. "Mom!" she shouted again, but Mummy Pig didn't notice anything strange. Everything seemed fine. Peppa began to fear that her imagination was playing tricks on her, but the strange occurrences continued. Every morning, when she entered the kitchen or the living room, she would see a new copy of herself. They looked similar, but each time something changed. One copy was slightly taller, another had a more vacant, strange expression on her face. Sometimes they just stood there watching, and other times they would mimic Peppa's actions. Peppa tried to ignore them, but the more she did, the more they appeared. One evening, after Peppa returned from the garden, she heard someone laughing in her room. It was her laugh, but with an unsettling edge to it. Peppa walked into the room and saw a group of her copies. They were all sitting, watching her and giggling. Each copy was slightly different from the last, and their laughter had taken on an eerie quality. Peppa felt a chill down her spine and tried to leave, but the door was locked. She was trapped. The copies began moving toward her, mimicking her every movement, as if they were her, but with something darker in their eyes. "You can't leave," one of the copies said. "We are all part of you." Peppa was terrified. She tried to escape, but no door would open. Everything felt like a nightmare. Each copy seemed to want to replace her. Soon, all the copies disappeared. Peppa woke up in her room. She wasn't sure if it had been a dream or reality, but she definitely felt that something was wrong. The next morning, Peppa woke up and, as usual, went to the kitchen. But her heart stopped when she saw that sitting at the table was a new copy of herself. This one had an even stranger smile and eyes. Episode titled New Mystery Toy. It was a normal morning. Mummy Pig was making breakfast, Daddy Pig was reading the newspaper, George was playing with his dinosaur, and Peppa was sitting on the floor arranging blocks. Suddenly, her eyes fell on a new plush pig lying on the bed. It was pink, with small shiny eyes and a neat little bow. Where did this toy come from? Peppa wondered. She picked up the pig and showed it to Mummy Pig, but Mummy only smiled. "This pig has always been with you, Peppa." Daddy Pig nodded in agreement. Peppa frowned. She clearly remembered that yesterday there had been no such toy. At first, the toy lay on the bed and did nothing. But that night, Peppa woke to a faint rustling. She looked at the pig. Its position had changed. Now it was closer to the edge of the bed. Peppa blinked and looked again. The toy had indeed moved. The next day, Peppa tried to ask her parents, but they again insisted that the pig had always been hers. She placed it on the shelf, but at night, it happened again. The pig slowly moved across the room, rolling over the rug and inching closer to the bed. Peppa noticed its eyes seemed to follow her. George slept nearby, oblivious. Peppa tried to fall asleep, but she couldn't stop watching the pig. Occasionally, she heard soft squeaks, as if the toy were moving its tiny fingers. The lamp flickered slightly, and shadows on the walls shifted a little. Peppa felt a subtle tension. The nights continued like this. Each night, the pig ended up closer to her bed. Peppa tried to pick it up, but it suddenly slid across the rug as if it had tiny legs. She felt that it was watching every movement she made, even when she tried to close her eyes. One night, Peppa heard a soft whisper. "Peppa?" She opened her eyes. The pig was standing on the windowsill, its bow gently swaying. Peppa froze. Her heart raced, her fingers trembled. She couldn't move, and the toy tilted slightly toward her, as if it wanted to say something. At dawn, the pig was back on the bed. Peppa told Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig. They again insisted it had always been there. Peppa could not explain what she had seen at night, but when she approached the bed, the bow on the pig slightly twitched. Peppa felt once again that the toy was watching her.